On a beautiful sunny day, when the sunlight shines brightly across the residential area north of Binduong City, the cheerful laughter seems to never stop. This is a place where people and nature still blend together, and it is also a place where the community often helps each other in difficult tasks. Especially, when it is necessary to deal with old trees in the forest, the people here will not hesitate to call Mr. Bin's sawing team. Mr. Bin is a middle-aged, strong, and gentle man. He is famous in the area not only for his friendly personality but also for his technical ability to saw and cut wood. His sawing team, although only consisting of a few people, always works wholeheartedly for the common good of the community. Whenever someone needs to clear trees or prepare firewood for the cold rainy season, Mr. Bin's name is always mentioned first. One early morning, the people in the northern part of Binduong came to see Mr. Bin with a request. Mr. Bin, in the forest north of the city, there are many rotten trees that have lost their vitality. We are worried that if we leave them for a long time, it will affect the remaining trees that are growing well. Can you and your saw team come up to help the people deal with it and conveniently cut some firewood for everyone to use this season? Hearing that, Mr. Bin did not hesitate to immediately agree. He knew that this job was not only important for the health of the forest, but also an opportunity to help the people have firewood, especially in the coming days when the rainy season comes. Moreover, this was also an opportunity for him and his teammates to meet, chat and create more joy between stressful working hours. Mr. Bin's sawing team consisted of him, Mr. Tu, his close friend since his youth, and a few other brothers in the village who joined forces. They decided to start the work early in the morning to avoid the harsh sunlight of Binduong noon. So after preparing all the tools such as chainsaws, axes, and protective gear, the whole sawing team set off towards the edge of the forest. The forest north of Binduong City is a lush green strip of forest, with trees growing densely and full of life. However, as the locals said, there are quite a few old trees with rotten trunks and peeling bark. These trees not only affect the natural beauty of the forest but can also threaten the growth of other trees around. When arriving, the team began to divide the work. Mr. Bin was in charge of sawing the large tree trunks, while the others would assist by clearing branches and leaves, and gathering firewood in one place. The sound of the chainsaw echoed, mixed with the chirping of birds from the high branches, creating a lively sound picture in the middle of the quiet forest. While working, despite the hard work, Mr. Bin's sawing team never lacked laughter. On 2, with his humorous personality, is always the one to stir up the atmosphere with humorous stories, making the whole team laugh heartily. On 2 told a story about his youth, when he was working on a construction site in Saigon. Back then, we went to work on a project in District 7, and met a main worker who was both difficult and grumpy. He was always picky, and if he made a mistake, he would yell loudly. But that day, he went to drill the ceiling without wearing a safety helmet. Then what? The ceiling cracked, and dust fell straight on his head. You know what, the whole team stood below looking at him and laughing so hard, but he still said aggressively, "I told you guys to be careful." On 2 told the story, gesturing with his hands and feet, making the whole team laugh out loud. In that laughter, everyone seemed to forget the fatigue of the work. The sun gradually rose higher, but the shade of the forest canopy still provided enough cover for everyone to continue working comfortably. The rotten tree trunks were gradually sawn into neat logs. Some large trees were treated more carefully, to ensure that they would not fall when a storm came. At noon, when the work was almost finished, Mr. Bin let the whole team take a break under a large tree. They brought out bottles of water and packages of sticky rice that the villagers had prepared early in the morning. On the cool green grass, everyone sat together, eating and drinking while chatting about all kinds of things in life. Mr. Bin looked at his teammates, feeling proud and happy to have such a close-knit and united sawing team. He not only saw them as colleagues at work but also as friends, brothers who shared all the joys and sorrows in life. Brother Bin, I think today's work is a bit hard but it's so much fun, isn't it? A young member of the team, Tin, said while chewing on a piece of sticky rice. Working with the brothers is fun, and listening to Tu's jokes is like going on a picnic. Brother Bin smiled gently. Every job has its own difficulties, but if we do it happily, it will be much easier. When people need us, we help, that's fun. After resting enough, the team continued their work. The last rotten tree trunks were processed, the branches and leaves were neatly cleaned, and a large pile of firewood was piled high at the edge of the forest, ready for people to use in the coming days. The job was completed, and Brother Bin's sawing team returned to the village, everyone feeling satisfied because they had helped the community. At the end of the day, when the sun had begun to set behind the distant mountains, the sunset dyed the sky of Binduong a brilliant orange. The whole sawing team said goodbye to each other after a productive day of work. Mr. Bin stood still, looking at the forest on the northern edge, where he and his sawing team had just worked hard to clean and take care of. He felt proud not only because of the work they had completed but also because of the team spirit, solidarity, and simple joy they had shared with each other. For him, today was a meaningful day, not only because he had helped the people but also a day to remember that in any job, joy and solidarity will always be the motivation to overcome all difficulties. And when he returned home, Mr. Bin knew that his sawing team would always be ready for any future tasks, because they worked not only for themselves but also for the community, for the loved ones here.